Well, we're actually getting started right now. I just hit record. Louanne Stevens, who is here, one of my favorite actresses. She is still working, still busy, just going to every Little League game imaginable. I thought I was a busy guy, Louanne, and then you started going through your schedule with me, and we've been putting this together for a couple weeks now. And I was like, I have no right to complain about my schedule because your schedule is even more filled up. But I imagine if you're the kind of person, based on what I know so far, I imagine you're the kind of person that wants to make sure that you are as busy as possible because you want to soak up all those moments.
There's the thing about don't live your life on its edges.
Mm-hmm.
Live in the center of it. Now, you can get in trouble with that when you're too busy and your husband says, "Don't you ever stay home? What about our show?" And we'll go back to hockey since that's my favorite topic right now.
Yeah.
The Dallas Stars are fighting with 5 other teams to try to get the second wild card spot for the playoffs. And my husband can't. We've been married 56 years. We were high school sweethearts. Grew up in Fort Worth. He doesn't like hockey. Football's his only sport. And it was for me too, growing up. In fact, my first hockey game, I thought there's only 3 quarters. That's dumb, but so anyway, last night, I did go to the Stars. I haven't been going because of COVID so much. It's only the 4th game I've been to. I have a season ticket. I've had it since 96, I guess. And it was so exciting. I mean, it was just really a great game.
Do you like the new uniforms? Are you a fan of the change they've made in recent years?
Well, now when you say the new, I mean, they switched green colors like a
lot. It's a different shade of green. It's that Volt green or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I wasn't as crazy about it but when Tom Gallardi bought the team, wanted to reset everything, and they're fine. They have 2 new uniforms, which I don't know why they did it during COVID, but one people don't like because they think they look like the White Walkers from Throne.
Yeah.
It's called the reverse traditional jersey or something, but I think it look good. And then they have this other one that I really like. It's black with a green, but it's kind of a highlight green of the city.
Yeah.
Same color. So, yeah, I don't care. I just want them to win games. And there's so many new guys. I don't know. Fans are weird.
Yeah.
I really care.
That's part of what makes it great, though. You get emotionally invested and you care, and you're like, am I really going to let the Dallas Stars ruin my Saturday afternoon? Is that really what I'm about to do? But I imagine that's been the case. You're like, why am I so upset still? I gotta go take a walk. I gotta do something because this fandom stuff. It's real.
I'm the best kind of fan, I think.
Okay.
I get really excited before. But if they lose, I'm not mad. I'm not that upset. They're just my boys. You want your boys to do well, but there's failure and there's success. So, yeah, I'll be disappointed if we don't make the playoffs. But, I'll live. I've lived with the Cowboys for all these years, so yeah, okay.
And we don't have to revisit the playoffs this year because I've talked about in this podcast, Louanne.
Who are your teams?
Oh, I'm from Atlanta, so I've got this Falcons thing here for you right here. So we got the Falcons, and then we got the Atlanta Braves World Champions flag behind me. Yeah, 2021. So I got that. Yeah, all Atlanta, and then Tennessee, of course, the Tennessee Volunteers. Are you a big Texas fan? Texas Longhorns fan?
Yes, my daughter goes to UT. And whenever we've traveled around the country for my husband's medical training, it was always Texas was really good at that time.
Yeah.
In the 70s and 80s. So, yeah, it was really fun. But I don't bleed that color.
No.
I mean, I'm for Texas, but I wouldn't say I'm ashamed to say I'm not into college football. And I know it's better. It's more exciting. But I don't have space with Cowboys. And then the hockey takes up. So there's 82 games, 41
right.
I don't know all.
Yeah.
But you watch every single one on TV. So yes.
There's only so much time. There's only so much time in the day. I completely understand.
Here and there when a job
comes
up.
Well, speaking of that, how is everything going? How do you feel about where everything is on the acting front as of right now?
It was. I feel really good,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't work all the time. I've had a few jobs this year. I had one that you would really like. That was with Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, yeah.
And, what's his name? Troy Polamalu with the long.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was a really fun commercial I shot. I don't do many commercials. And I made
Mm-hmm.
a ton of money on that. And all I say is, Troy, you're such a good teacher. But anyway, it's
How
called
were
Hair.
they? Did you enjoy?
Oh, they were
Yeah.
adorable. They were,
Mm-hmm.
and it was an old lady trying to learn to play. Well, the whole commercial, if you haven't seen it, it's really well done. It's called Never Not Working. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just that wherever um, Patrick goes, there's Troy.
Yeah.
He's the dental hygienist. He's the guy behind the deli. He's at a golf club, and suddenly he looks behind him, and there is Troy, a golf pro,
Mm-hmm.
trying to teach this lady to play golf. And it was really fun because when I only hit the ball once, I think, in all the takes. I mean, I'd hit them, but they would just dribble away.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say, Patrick, get that ball for me, son. And that was really fun. Okay, yes, ma'am. He was really nice. And Troy was adorable. So that was good. I had a few other jobs. I've got a couple of movies that are going to be available this year that I shot before, but they weren't
Mm-hmm.
available. One I can't say anything about because I think it's a secret about where it's being delivered.
Well,
But
let's not get in trouble then. Let's not do that. Yeah.
one that BJ Novak from The Office wrote,
Mm-hmm.
directed, and starred in.
Mm-hmm.
He just announced Focus features are either Focus. There's two things that start with Focus. It's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Not Focus Films, Focus Feature. Anyway, one of those has bought it. It's going to come out on July 29th for a big release.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a crazy West Texas grandmother again. So
There you go.
fun. Yeah, acting's going fine. My life's good. My grandkids are doing well. One of my dogs is in here on the couch.
Yeah. What is that one's name?
That's Jack Henry.
Jack Henry. So my legal name's actually Henry. So there you go. I like it.
I knew we were meant to be.
We didn't even know it at the time, but now we know. But I actually have my dog in here as well, Khaleesi the Keyshawn, but she's down there napping at the moment. So I might pick her.
What breed?
Say it again. Keyshawn. She is a Keyshawn.
I know Bichon, but what's a Keyshawn?
A Keyshawn's like so they used to be a lot more popular decades ago, but she's basically like a big Pomeranian, like a really big version, like a mixture between a Pomeranian and a Husky, some like middle ground between the two of them.
They're pretty big.
Yeah, she's about 40 to 50 pounds. She fluctuates around there. Yeah.
He weighs 40. I tried to about 40. Yeah.
Anyway. Well, it's a lot of hair. Yeah. No, by the end of the show, I'll pick her up. She'll hate it, but I'll pick her up and I'll show you her. So I want to ask this because we talked about this before we got started, but like I'm sure when I reach out to folks like yourself about coming on the podcast, it's like, oh, you're a sports podcast. Why do you want to talk to an actor or an actress or whoever? And it's because A, I love pop culture. A, I love TV. B, like I can't do sports all the time. I'll lose my mind if I'm only talking about sports or I'm only watching sports. I need that diversity or I'll get burned out. And you have been in my life for 20 years now. Like it's been wild, but it's really cool. And I'm like, I would love to just talk with her about things and like what makes her tick and like why she got into acting, all that kind of stuff. Because I think actors and people who are in this medium, whether it's writing, podcasting, acting, directing, we all are kind of cut from the same cloth. And we all have that same drive of like, we want to do this ourselves. It's a tough dream to chase. You have to do a lot of stuff. It's a different grind. It's not a 9-to-5 type deal. And it really tests you and you have to really want it. If you want to be a sports writer or a sports podcaster, you better really want it. If you want to be an actor, you better really want it. Was that something you knew early on? Because you didn't start out like this. You got your MFA, you taught English, you have a background in English, you didn't have to go into acting when you did. Did you always have that just voice in your head though, that you were like, at some point I'm going to pivot. At some point I'm going to really, really chase this. And were you surprised that, oh, this is actually like not a hobby. This can be a full-time thing. This can just be my life now.
It seems like you know my story.
I did. Hey, journalist, I come prepared, Louanne. I come prepared.
Um, it's going to be hard. So you're 32.
30. I turned 31 in April.
Sorry,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
sorry. I want to. Okay, so you're 30.
Mm-hmm.
It's really going to be hard for you to even realize what it was like, because now half the people you talk to are majoring in theater, music
Mm-hmm.
theater, acting. I didn't know anyone who was an actor, who wanted to be an actor, who majored in, that just wasn't. I might have wanted to be not a sportscaster, but a news anchor, but there were no women,
Mm-hmm.
or a DJ, but you couldn't do that. There were no women DJs. Even at one time, maybe a minister, but there were no women ministers. So the choices were pretty much teacher, nurse, homemaker. I'm missing one, secretary. Now, this may not have been in every part of the culture, but in my culture, we were lower middle class, and Daddy worked at the airplane factory, and those were the choices. I never ever, in my wildest dreams, thought of being a paid actor. Never entered
Mm-hmm.
my head. But what I did have was, I knew I had to play pretend. I I didn't like dolls. I just played pretend. I played school. I played Tarzan. In fact, I just saw a picture. I'm scanning some things of me in a tree in my grandmother's backyard, and I remember I was Tarzan back there. And then in ninth grade, they said, "Who wants to be in this play?" Oh, I do. I do. What about 12th grade? Yeah, I want to be in the play. High school and college. Yeah, I'll be in a play. Community theater. I'll be in a play. Never once thinking this was just something I did for fun. It was something I had to do. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was shocking. I decided to take an acting class, and I would have never done it except my internist was taking an acting class, because I thought actors were probably really weird. I thought, well, if my doctor's taking it, yeah, I should try it. So I signed,
Mm-hmm.
and right away he said, "You can work in Dallas." I said, "What is a waitress? What? I mean, I'm saying you can be an actor." I said, and he put me in a showcase, and somebody asked to represent me. The reason I'm saying all this is to the parents. If your kid has it in them, then it will come out. And people ask me sometimes, should we get an agent for our kids this early? I can't tell you what to do, but if it were my kid, I would wait. I would let them do school plays and all kinds of plays and anything they wanted to. And then, now I do know one person that started really early. It's worked out great. But you're right. I had no idea. And then when I got this first commercial, I was like, whatever. And let's see, my line, it was for Safeway, and my lines were, it was pushing produce. Oh, and my line was, "I just love produce." And, it was just so much fun. And then just little things happened. I think I got in a few movies,
Mm-hmm.
um, and Friday Night Lights I had no idea I would get that. I just went to the audition in Austin, drove down there, got called back, and they cast me. So it was just fabulous. I mean, I'm still surprised by it all.
So was that a pretty fast process with Peter Berg and company, where it was that part, and it was just something where it was like, oh, you're Grandma Saracen, this is happening.
He seemed to decide pretty fast. At that time, you did everything in person. Now
Mm-hmm.
we tape our auditions and send them in.
Huh.
It's not as much fun, not nearly
Mm-hmm.
as much fun. I hope it'll go back to some in-person stuff, because when you're in person, the director or the casting director can say, "Well, try it this way,"
Mm-hmm.
or, "You know what, bring it back," or "Pull it up." When you're just videotaping, you just send in what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I drove to Austin. I auditioned for the casting director. Then they bring you back and audition for Peter Berg. And I just had a ball. He started throwing a sofa pillow at me and saying, "This is a football, blah, blah, blah." And so we just improvised there. And the next thing I know, and then the role seemed to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the interactions with Zach. Gilford,
Mm-hmm.
my grandson, were so incredible, and with Landry, Jesse Plemons, who's now a superstar.
Did you see that coming with him? Did you know pretty early on that he's
Uh,
going to be one of Hollywood's biggest actors?
no, I didn't know that. I just knew when I had a scene with Jesse.
Yeah.
Um, it was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my best compliments I got from the crew one day after the scene, somebody came up and said, "All right, everybody wants you and Jesse to be in a TV show by yourself, spin-off." But
There
yeah,
could have been a spinoff. Yeah, I mean, it was that kind of thing, and it was one of those shows, and we see that now. I mean, with Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, like spinoffs are just something that you're expecting now. When Game of Thrones works out, you're like, okay, how do we? We're nearing the end. How do we get a spinoff out of this? Because this is good, and we have characters. Like one of the cool things is like your character. Like you said, it evolved, but it was like one of those things where people had to see it, and you had to like actually just do the show for a little while and let it organically unfold that way, because you don't know how a character like Saul Goodman's going to be received. You don't know how a character like Landry is going to be received until you put it out there for a while, and then you just look at the reactions. You're like, a lot of people are talking about Grandma Saracen and Landry. We should probably do more here going forward. There's something here, but you, like you said, unless you actually just have it and you put it out there, you don't know what you have. And I agree with you. I would have watched a spinoff. I would have watched a Landry and Grandma Saracen spinoff. Was it a good connection right away for you though with Zach? Was it something where it was just like, oh, we're
yeah,
gonna be able to pull off this grandma grandson relationship really well?
pretty instantaneous. He's a delightful, such a nice guy. I usually cry when I talk about it, but I'm really sleepy today. I probably won't because of the star train. I didn't get to bed
Mm-hmm.
tonight. Um, his mother was on the set one day, and
Mm-hmm.
he's from Chicago, and
Mm-hmm.
she said he treats his real grandparents the way the character treats his
Mm-hmm.
grandma. And he would always apologize. He's very smart. I'm an English major with a master's in American literature. He was reading the same books that I was reading. He's
Mm-hmm.
very smart. And we could talk about books. If he accidentally said a bad word, he would apologize. Um, yeah, he's just really a good guy. I like him so much. He's probably the one I stay the closest with.
Mm-hmm.
Had two babies. I've lost touch with Jesse. I tried to follow him on Instagram, but I couldn't. I couldn't find him. Um, and I stay in touch with Kyle a little bit and Connie, and they're just all doing great.
Mm-hmm.
They're fabulous.
And then you have later on Michael B. Jordan out of nowhere in those later
Oh,
seasons, and then yeah,
I never had a scene with him. He
yeah,
was, but oh my gosh, he was just a few years ago the sexiest man in the world, according to some magazine.
yeah. Friday Night Lights, if you look at the cast and look at where they are now versus like it's just one of those things where everybody was better off after it. And it was a show that people still watch and binge watch, and I've seen so many times. And me growing up in Georgia and just experiencing Friday Night Lights growing up, it checked a lot of boxes for me immediately, where I'm like, oh yeah, this is everything I need. And like the scenes with Matt, like you talk about it, but Matt, I still remember, I think my favorite scene was when Kyle Chandler just walks into your place for the first time and realizes what's on Matt's plate. Because I think it's just a good reminder for a lot of folks of just like, that is the plight for so many kids around the country that you just have no idea. Like it's just, you have no idea what a kid's going through. And that's why you choose kindness. It's like you have no idea what's going on at home. And him already being an adult and him already having to step up and do everything he's having to do. And then it's like, oh, you're also going to be QB1 for our high school now. Like you thought your life was busy now and tough now. Like now just go be a star quarterback at a big time high school football program. And it was just amazing. I thought Kyle did a great job of just being blown away by what Matt was having to do. And your reaction, I think you offered him cake. I'm pretty sure you offered him some cake. And it was just one of my favorite scenes of the three of you guys setting the tone for the rest of the series, because I think he takes Matt and they go and stand in front of the field and get him ready for the game on Friday. But I don't know, that scene in particular resonated the most with me. Is that one of your biggest ones, or do you have a specific
I'm going to
one?
go back and look now that you're mentioning it. I don't think about it much, uh,
Mhm,
but now that you're mentioning it, I do remember that scene. I was thinking of it from my angle of being
mhm,
like, "Oh my gosh, the coach is here. What are we
mhm,
doing here? You know, I got to find something in the kitchen." But yeah, for him to realize what Matt is going through, you're really pretty perceptive here on this stuff. You thought about it,
mhm.
and yeah, in that little house at first. One of the things I think that made it good was every one of these families had their own real house. It wasn't at a studio.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot of shows are shot in a studio, and it looks like it's a house or a whatever.
Mhm,
But we all actually had a house. There was a Riggins
mhm,
house and a Taylor house and our house, the Saracen house. It was a little house that people really lived in, tiny.
mhm,
And when we would rent it, they would have to put up walls, take them, and finally, after a year or two, they purchased the house. It's been pulled down now. Uh,
mhm.
one of the Friday Night Light fans sent me he has a tour of uh, all the houses there, and he said that one's gone now. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, it was. I'm gonna revisit that scene.
It was a powerful scene, and I also think it's interesting that you bring up that he treated his grandmother like that in real life, and I think that's one of those things in casting where you get lucky sometimes, where it's like, if any other character or any other actor got in that role, I just don't think it works the same. I think Zach Gilford just embodied who Matt Saracen really was, and you embodied who, Grandma Saracen was, and I don't know, I think you really so much of it just seems like it's a roll of the dice, and you hope, like, you like how they sound and you think it will work, but then you're like, oh, it's the little things that we didn't even know about when we're shooting. Like, they didn't know that Matt Saracen or that Zach Gilford was just a great human being and a great kid, and just would work so well for this type of character. But it did, and that's like one of those things, you just, life's funny like that, that it can work out like that.
Right, and it was a role of a lifetime.
Mhm,
Me, it was just wow. And they used her in lots of different ways. So some
mhm,
years she was sick, some years she was well, some years she was a comic relief. You
mhm.
know, it kind of went back and forth. Fine with me.
Well, they just love spending time with her. There was a warmth there with Grandma Saracen, but and I think people like that. Um, there was another thing I wanted to ask you about with Friday Night Lights, and it's really Grandma Saracen too. Do you see any of did you like when you were reading the part and really getting into character and thinking about who she was, and the situation with Matt, the situation with her children, and things like that? Of like, okay, what can I pull from? Because you're obviously from Texas. How much of who she was in the show did you pull from personal experiences and personal emotions to get that character across?
That's a good question, and one that a lot of people ask. I think the first thing to say is you can't present anything that's not already in you. I mean,
Mhm,
that's when you have like fake acting.
mhm,
But if you think about it, every human being already has everything in us. It's just uh, getting to that and finding
mhm,
it inside us. But for me, that was especially easy because my mother and daddy are from a little town near Vernon, Texas called Odell. Nothing's
mhm,
left now, nothing, a few houses. And all but what strong, feisty women. I went there all the time and visited Etta Faye, Etta Mae, Eva Lee, Cora, all of these strong, feisty, smart country women. And so it was easy. And it's very important to me that this character be treated with respect because these women are what made the world turn around. I mean, yeah, the men, blah, blah, but the women are the one that made it all work. I mean,
mhm,
they canned the food. They took care of the kids. Um, and they weren't dumb. I mean, they didn't vote. They couldn't vote till 1920. Uh,
mhm.
and they weren't big into politics. They weren't well educated, but very smart. So yeah, I had those people, and it went down through my mom, and
Mhm.
and I've got some of that in me. So yeah, I'm going to say that it was just meant to be. It's just a
Yeah.
character. I have this new, it's not new. I've always known it, but I remembered it again about 3 years ago.
Mhm.
I was kind of down about my acting. Maybe I hadn't had a job for a while, and then I remembered it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter even if you're paid for it. What matters is that you touch your creative center.
Mhm.
So, it can be the nursing home, which I go to once a month and dress up and act silly. It doesn't matter. It's just having fun. And that's what you need to remember as you do this podcast and everything, and you have all of these business decisions and blah, blah, blah. It's not going to mean anything if you're not having fun. So
Mhm.
I don't know how you're going to.
Well, it's like things like this where it's just not sports all the time, and I do stuff that I really enjoy, and I'm not gonna just acquiesce because, "Oh, you should talk about this because this is popular and this will get you." It's like, I don't care. Like, I won't wanna do it anymore if that's how I focus it. It has to be something you have to maintain the passion project element of it, where you're creating what you wanna create, and if that gets a big audience, it's great. If it doesn't, that's okay too, because at least you'll be happy doing what you wanna do.
Okay, so you already got it. You got
Yeah,
it.
I'm not yeah. But that's something you gotta learn by just doing it. When you do a lot of episodes, you learn and you just it's just everything is reps and everything is just experience and working through it because you'll be amazed what you can find just by doing it. Like, you just have to keep jumping into the deep end, and you'll be surprised what you learn, that you know all too well, Luann.
Yep.
When did you know, though, that Friday Night Lights was gonna be a big thing nationally? Was how early on? Because you guys had the writer's strike in season 2, and you had some questions about the future off and on early on, but I'm sure that kinda changed some of the trajectory and, like, where it was gonna go and all that kinda stuff, but when did you know you were like, "Okay, this is actually gonna be, like, something that people put on their top 10 shows of all time list?"
I Yeah, it wasn't that popular with the general public, and then we had the
Yeah.
networks. But I think it's when the New York Times,
Mhm.
I think it was the New York Times, wrote an article comparing Friday Night Lights to, I can't remember, was it the Iliad or was it was some classic. I'll
Huh.
have to find that piece.
Yeah.
But the critical reviews from the beginning
Mhm.
were phenomenal. So you knew you were a part of something good, whether it was popular or not. You
Mhm.
knew that you were a part of something good. And then just the feeling, um, it felt so real.
Mhm.
You probably have heard this before. I know I've said it in every interview. The way it was shot is unique. In most TV shows, you probably know this. They first do the master.
Mhm.
Everybody does their part from a distance. And then when you do your close-ups, you match what you did in the master. So for instance, if I picked up my phone when I said, "Hey, how are you doing?"
Mhm.
on my right ear,
Mhm.
I have to always pick up my phone on the same word and put it here at the same time. Well, in Friday Night Lights, they had 3 cameras going, 2 or 3 cameras going all the time.
Mhm.
Never had to match anything. They would just pick and choose from those. So if the line was, "Matthew, where's my orange juice?"
Mhm.
I could say, and I've done shows since then, and if you don't say, "Matthew, where's my orange juice?" they will come over to you and they will tell you what word you missed. But
Mhm.
in Friday Night Lights, you could say, "Matthew, I said I wanted my orange juice. Where is it?" Or you could say, "Where's that orange juice?" You could, every take could be different.
Mhm.
So it was so much more natural
Yeah.
because you are creating as you go. And I think the poor script supervisor who's in charge of seeing when you do things, they finally quit. I mean, they didn't quit the work. They
Mhm.
would be sure you had on earrings if you were supposed to. But as far as saying what you did last time, they had to get over it. And Kyle came up to me. I didn't know him. Came up to me right after we shot the pilot. He was bragging on me, which made me feel great. And then he said, "You'll never have this again." I said, "What do you mean?" Because I've never been in a series.
Mhm.
"You'll never have this freedom again." I said,
Huh.
"Really?" And I don't know if now in that movie with BJ Novak, I'm embarrassed I didn't know who he was, but I talked to him on the phone and I said, well, I'm at the age I just want to have fun. Are we going to have fun? He said, you're going to have the best time you've ever had. And I did. I said, well, what about lines? Do they have to be exact? He said, the first time you say them the way I wrote them. Then after that, you can do what you want to, and I'll pick and choose. So again, that was let you have some freedom there.
Yeah.
But that's hugely important.
That's interesting. What have you learned most about yourself since pursuing acting full time? What have you learned?
Well, I've learned that I was meant to do it. That I didn't really have any choice. What else about myself? It's been good because I don't think I could have done this at your age, because I don't think I could have taken the rejection. You know, I didn't start until my 40s. So by that time I was more set in my personality and I could take the rejection better. But I have learned that I can take rejection, because people see you on TV and they think you work all the time. No, you might have shot that 6 months ago and you haven't had a job since then. And how do you keep? And yet, if you go into an audition all like, oh, I'm not going to get it, you won't get it. Yeah. So how do you keep that's what I've learned about myself. If somebody says I didn't book the job, it happened last week, I don't think about it for 1 minute. So that's a huge, huge improvement. It's like, wasn't meant to be, not my.
It's out of your hands. It's like there's no point in dwelling on it. It's over. You got to move past it. You got to wipe. It's the Men in Black thing. You just wipe it from your memory.
Somebody somewhere is writing my next series. And I'd like to be the mother of 3 sons in the West. And we have to get vengeance, but not too bad, on some bad guys. And I'm the mother. I'm going to have to hurry because I'm getting old. I'm the mother of the gang.
Okay.
And I want Adam Bartley from Longmire to be one of the sons, and Bailey Chase to be the other. And the third one's open, possibly you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can do it. I think we have the connection. I think that could work.
You might have to be a grandson, but we'll talk about it.
There you go. I'm on board. Louanne. Your perfect night off from work. What do you like to do? What would you, if you could do any night off work and you could map it out however you want to do it? How do you do it?
What I do every night. Okay. I'm not working, going to Stars game.
Okay.
My husband fixes our dinner, or we get
some. Cook?
Do I?
Is he a good cook? Is your husband
a good cook? I cook all the time the kids are growing up, but I'm over it. And
same as my mom. That was it. Like, we graduated out and it was over. It was
say I didn't cook. Well, who cooked? Where did you get your breakfast, lunch, and dinner from the time you were born until you graduated from high school? You know, you and your mom and me. So he fixes our dinner. You're not ever supposed to eat in front of the TV, but we get our trays. And we watch whatever streaming show we're watching, just like.
What's your favorite show right now?
Right now, we're stuck in something I want to get out of. Blue Bloods, which is 12 seasons.
It's a big commitment.
Yeah, and I'm ready to, but I can't.
Eject, yeah.
Yeah, we're in season 5, and it's good, but I'd rather watch it like a few times a week.
Yeah.
I need to watch Yellowstone. I need to watch 1883. What are you watching? Do you have time?
Yeah, no, that's the thing, is like, I map out time. The Sports Renaissance Woman and myself, like, that's our thing, is like we connect on that. And thankfully she loves to read, so we're able to just sit and hang out and read together, which is really important to me. That was something I was worried about when I was younger, is finding someone who's comfortable with silence. And that's a big thing for me, because I'm a really independent person, and I need, especially when I do the podcast and I do all this, like, I talk a lot, and I have to. Yeah, and I need that space. I need to be able to just be comfortable with silence and just reading, and she has that. So that's one of my favorite things to do is actually just sit and read next to her. I love that.
What do you read?
Um, so right now, let me get so this is let me see if I can grab it. Is it in the room? Okay, it's not in the room. I'll have to go grab it.
Or when you get the dog, you can
Yeah.
grab the book.
Yeah, I was gonna pull it up and just like I know I was gonna pull it up and show you, but yeah,
Do you
I
like
don't know. It's
nonfiction or do you like fiction or both?
so I love both. It really just depends. Like one of my favorite nonfiction books is Why Nations Fail. Like I love that book because it was just a great
And
insight into. I would highly recommend it. It just kind of outlines like how every country came to be and like why certain things that we just are like, oh, this is something about that country, and you're like, wait, why is that the case? What happened to Venezuela?
Why Nations Fail.
It's extremely interesting. That's one of my favorites. I'll read some sports books, but I generally speaking like to read sports articles versus sports books because I like to stay up to date on that. And by the time I'm reading books, I want to read something that's different. I like
Also,
to,
although
yeah,
there's
it's.
some great sports books.
Hmm.
I went through a period where I said, I'm going to read all the top 20 sports books, novels.
Hmm.
Um, and, of course, I'm not going to be Art of Fielding, Ball
Hmm.
Four, uh, Money, all those. I can't think of the name of that, the movie. Anyway,
Hmm.
but I know what you say.
Well,
Since you do sports, you'd rather read something different when you're not doing the podcast.
yeah.
Yeah.
Island's one of my favorite books. I love Island. Let's see. There's
That
something
either.
others. Island's very good. The Goldfinch was a really good one. They made a movie about it.
Yeah.
I read that. Yeah. Yeah, no, this is a time where like when I move and we buy our different house, like I'm gonna like I have all of my bookshelf and I have it all right here and I have all these cool helmets and all this cool sports stuff. But when I design this like half studio, whatever, like the girlfriend's got one half and I've got the other, the way it works is like it's not on video. And I had to literally rearrange everything because I did the room before I pivoted to video a little bit. So I'm like, I'm not doing all that. So at some point I'll be able to just turn and be like, oh, here it is. Here's the book we're talking about. But yeah. Something about Friday Night Light actors fans would be surprised to know. Like, is there something that you know about one of them that you learned while shooting that would surprise some folks about that person? It could be a character trait, personality trait.
I don't know if it wouldn't be surprising about Liz Michael, who played
Hmm.
Samantha's mom, that she's probably the best actress in Dallas.
Huh.
She's a member of the theater, the repertory theater at the theater center. She can do anything. Oh, hello. Let me close the door.
No, you're all good.
But I think the thing that people might be surprised about. Somebody asked me once, "Who is the least like their character?"
The least what?
The least like their character,
Okay.
because I'm not like my character, but I pretty much come from that.
Oh, can I make a guess here?
Okay.
Taylor Kitsch, right? Taylor Kitsch, right?
Well, I don't. He's got some similarities. He wanted to
He's
play
got
hockey.
some Riggins in him. Yeah.
He wanted to play hockey and he blew his knee out.
Hmm.
And should we take a break until I can get the dog
No,
quiet?
we're okay. We're okay. We're dog friendly on this podcast. I'm surprised my dog hasn't started barking yet.
Um, Taylor, in fact, he lives in Montana now. We've kind of been doing a little bit on Instagram because he's
Uh-huh.
playing hockey up there on a
Huh.
team called the maybe Timberwolves. I'm not sure. It's
Yeah.
minor league or something. I'm really excited for him. No, it's guys Charles
Mm-hmm.
plays Smash.
Yes.
He had to work on that accent. He is like a
Huh.
classically trained,
Uh-huh.
perfect English speaking gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite things is to see him get down with all that rap and all that stuff. So that was fun. And there's some gossip, but I'm not going to tell about that gossip.
Yeah, we know.
Now, what can I tell? I can tell a funny story that I tell.
Mm-hmm.
It, shall we end with this, or how much longer are we going?
We can end with this. We can end with
Oh, this
this.
is a pretty funny story.
Okay.
It might take a couple minutes.
Yeah, no, you're good.
All right. So there's a scene where Grandma Saracen is
Mm-hmm.
in the car with her daughter-in-law, Kim Dickens,
Mm-hmm.
and she gets all mad and she just opens the door and she just jumps out of the car.
Mm-hmm.
And she's injured, bleeding and so forth. So the first funny part is I was standing there. I had a bad knee at the time. It's just been replaced. I was standing there and I said to Kim, "Oh man, I can't believe I'm going to have to jump out of that car. My knee's bad." And she said, "Louanne, you'll have a stunt double." Oh, okay. So what they do is, they pull the car up,
Mm-hmm.
throw the door open, then they stop, they
Mm-hmm.
put down a pad, and somebody else rolls onto that pad. Camera stops. Then when it comes back, I'm lying there, all bloody,
Mm-hmm.
and Zach runs out of the house. And I've told you, Zach is an ultra gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
Apologizes when he says bad words. Doesn't do anything untoward or anything that wouldn't be respectful, ultra respectful to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I roll out on the pad. Oh God, he runs out and grabs me and inadvertently grabs my left breast. Well, you're in the middle of a scene. You have to go on.
Yeah.
So we finish the scene.
Uh-huh.
All this while that is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So we stand up, and I saw his face was red, and I should have just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
But it was too good. So in front of everyone, I had to say, "Well, Zach, I hope you enjoyed that," or something like that. "Oh, Anne, I was hoping you hadn't noticed. I'm so sorry. Please, I'm so sorry." Anyway, it was just a funny incident. It shows a little bit about what he's like, and also my inexperience at not having done a lot of work before Friday Night Lights.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, this has been a pleasure. I'm so glad we're able to do this, Louanne, and connect today for the podcast. How do the good folks keep up with your work, what you're doing right now, keep up with you and make sure that they don't miss any Louanne Stevens appearance, whether it's commercials, whether it's TV, movies, it's our movie, or I'm Your Son that's in development down the line.
Yes.
How do they do that?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not on Facebook, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't face it.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Twitter, I'm Mamalou8,
Mm-hmm.
Malou8. Like I told you, that 8 is for Troy Aikman's number.
Yep.
Because that's when we first got that computer. We picked these dumb names. And in Instagram, which is where I'm more active, it's Louanne_Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
I do tell about pretty much every audition I have. Anytime I book a job, there's a couple things I can't promote right now because of signing a non-disclosure agreement. But as soon as I can, I always mention it. And I'm trying to get 10,000 followers before I die. So, which is not very many, but that's my goal.
Okay.
So I really need people to sign up.
Uh-huh.
And I don't have that much time. I think I'll make it though. So
you're close. I'm looking at it now. Look at this. I just put you at 8840. So there you go. I just got you there. Round number. Mm-hmm.
I'm working on it.
Yeah. There you go. Well, thank you so much for the time, Louanne. This has been an absolute delight. Good luck in the future. It's going to be great. More great roles, and so many more great roles are in your future. And thank you again. And we'll have to revisit again soon. We'll have to check back in again soon, Louanne.
Chase, I think I'm going to hear more about you. I really do. I think you've got a way about you that you're interviewing, your pleasantness, you're smart. So I think I'm going to hear big things about you. But whether I do or not, as long as you have fun.
That means a lot. Thank you so much, Louanne. I will talk to you very soon.
All right.